Joining us now for a fair and balanced debate, Buck Sexton is a former CIA officer, host of the Buck Sexton radio show. And Mustafa Tameez is a former consultant to the Department of Homeland Security under the Bush administration and a Democratic strategist. Good morning to both of you. And I wonder, Buck, what do you think about this speculation, and the president did not want to address it, he said it's too early, about whether he may lift these sanctions against Russia at a time when he's already been accused of being too close to Putin?
Well, I think at this point it's just that. It's speculation. When you look at what the president would try in order to get something out of this, there are a number of places, a number of issues where I really do think that you could get some change in policy based on a new relationship between Trump and Putin. So he shouldn't just pull the sanctions off right away necessarily. I think he should do what his predecessor was trying to do, unsuccessfully unfortunately, which is get a change in Russian policy. And if he's able to acquire that, well then of course he should lift the sanctions, because they're not an end in themselves. I think it's interesting also that there are a lot of people out there who are saying that Trump essentially should just be a continuation of Obama policy towards Russia across the board. That was certainly not true of the Obama administration with Cuba, Iran, and a whole bunch of other places.
But, Mustafa, we've heard this before, right? George W. Bush looked into Putin's eyes, said he saw into his soul. We had this Russian reset from the Obama administration that clearly failed. Could there be something different this time?
Well, look, I think President Trump is trying, but our concern is that he's trying a little too hard. If he says he's a great negotiator, but to this day he has not criticized Russia for anything. And his links of his campaign and the Russian hacking to the American system, it is concerning to people that he is going too far into reaching out to Vladimir Putin, and there may be something to it. So he's got to calm those fears.
On that point, why is the default position he should be criticizing Russia? I mean, the president has made this point in the transition and back in the campaign that maybe we should have warmer relations with Russia. It doesn't mean you endorse every bad thing they do, but if we actually got their help, say, in Syria, that would be a big deal, wouldn't it?
Well, look, I mean, his position when President Trump during the campaign didn't criticize Vladimir Putin for invading Crimea. He said that was not a big deal. He talked about his, not supporting NATO if they didn't pay into it. And then more importantly, the fact that he has so many Russian ties into his campaign makes the world very nervous about his actions. So he's got a lot to do. Being proud of being president is not just winning a campaign, but it's leading, and the American president, not just our president, but it's leader of the free world. So there's a lot of people watching what he says and his reaction to Vladimir Putin. They're watching what he says, but Buck, address that. It's sort of an insinuation, basically, that there are all these ties, there's these shadows, overhanging this phone call for President Trump.
I think, unfortunately, this is a continuation of the hyperbolic story that was run by Democrats and much of the media, that what happened was that Donald Trump, whether it can be proven or not, Donald Trump won the election because of Russia, and that's where you have very hawkish statements coming out of Democrats who, with regard to our foreign relations with every other country around the world, seem to always want to take a conciliatory approach. In this instance, because Hillary Clinton did not win the election, we have been treated to a steady diet in the news of constantly insinuating that Donald Trump has these nefarious ties to Russia. There's always some smoke here. There's not fire. They haven't been able to prove anything. And I think that what they're trying to do is box Trump in to make some bad decisions right out of the gate with Russia, when he needs to establish his own head with a foreign head of state that we cannot ignore. Russia is too big geopolitically and literally to ignore.
All right, Buck,
Lindsey Graham is no Democrat. Lindsey Graham is no Democrat. John McCain is no Democrat. Senator Rubio is no Democrat. Republicans, Democrats, national security experts have a real problem with how President Trump is handling
They're part of the national security establishment. They've been thinking the same way for a long time.
Appreciate it, Mustafa. Buck, thanks for joining us.